These are my favourite shots to play, and in my opinion they're the best snooker shots. Some of them are exhibition shots that can be quite difficult to play, but others are far more crucial than that, and then there are those that are just fun. Any way you look at it, this is how you play the 10 shots I like the most. We're going to look at these shots in no particular order, but we are starting off with one I know a lot of people enjoy. This is the banana shot, where you intentionally slam the cue ball into the cushion with topspin to create a particularly special effect. The great thing about this shot is anybody can have a go at it. All you really need to do is play the shot with a lot of topspin. All you need to do is follow through a lot on this one to get enough topspin on the cue ball. That'll make it stop, but we want to do more than just be able to make it stop. So when I played this shot earlier, I actually played it with a small amount of left-hand side, because when it comes back off the cushion, it actually makes the ball go to the right. And straightens it up a little bit off the cushion, but we don't need to go into all of that now. The important thing is, by using topspin and a small trace aside, we can control shots like this to get in position. If you just roll this in, you normally come out for about the blue with this type of shot, but I'm using topspin and side spin here to make the cue ball go down for the black. Unfortunately, it just went a little bit too low. It's mainly just affected by how close the object ball is to the cushion. These are impossible to judge perfectly all the time, but when they come off, they look fantastic. And that's why these are some of my favourite shots to play. This next shot is almost the complete opposite of the last one. This is another exhibition style shot, and although it looks a lot harder than the last one, it's not necessarily as difficult as you might think. If I was to play an ordinary screw shot here, I'd naturally cannon into the brown. So what's the trick to getting the cue ball to delay and go all the way round it? You can't get away from it. This is a difficult part in the circumstances, because the trick to it, if there is one, is to strike down on the cue ball, which makes the cue ball bounce and then bounce around the brown, because it delays the backspin. If the cue ball isn't in contact with the table, then it can't backspin, or at least not straight away. Striking down like this makes the pot quite a bit harder, but all you really need to do is play it with maximum backspin like this. And of course, this type of shot does have other uses, although you might need a faster table at times. The next one is a little bit more useful in a game of snooker, however. The back double. This is very simply just doubling the cue ball back towards you, and I think I like this shot because I find it very slightly easier to play than a regular double. I think it just seems a little bit easier to line up for some reason, and the advantage of this type of double is you're not going to have your shot ruined by an annoying double kiss. You can play this with whatever spin you like, it doesn't really matter too much, it just feels good to be aiming at yourself for some reason. Yes. We use American pool for inspiration for the next shot, where they'll often play something like this, which is usually referred to, slightly confusingly, as a billiard, though I do like the snooker equivalent. But I believe this is an underused shot in snooker, because this isn't necessarily as difficult to play as you might think. Didn't think I did it hard enough. Although the main use for this shot is when there's a ball over a pocket that you can't see, it does have other uses. Sometimes the basic shots do require spin to make the cannon, although with the more complex ones you can usually get away with it if you just play it as a straightforward run-through shot. Though you need to be very careful, because if you just get the pace of the shot very slightly wrong, it can completely change it, and you can end up missing by a long way. If it's on and you can play it, I usually find it quite fun to play. Before we look at my next favourite shot to play, we're going to find Jacob, who's in Plymouth in the United Kingdom, which is about there. This one's actually a fairly simple exhibition shot, as long as you've got enough cue power. This one's just a fun little exhibition shot on the brown, and it works on both sides of the table. From a regular type of position on the brown, I usually find if I screw back as much as I can, I come up perfectly for the blue. It's just a case of screwing it back straight enough. Because quite often I'll find I can't avoid putting a trace of side spin on the cue ball accidentally, which can result in the cue ball not coming back straight and ending up on the wrong side of the table, and this can cause it to go wrong. But what happens if that leaves you slightly the wrong side of the blue? Well, the good news is that's exactly where we need to be for the next shot. But before that, the next few shots coming up involve playing with the same side spin as the angle we're cutting. So here we've got a right-hand side shot that needs to be cut to the right. It's far easier to play this shot with left-hand side because I'm aiming for the left-hand side of the object ball and I'm making the cue ball deflect thicker into the red here. However, with right-hand side on this particular shot, it makes the cue ball deflect away from the object ball, making these types of shot harder to play. So hopefully that makes sense, and it's back to the shot on the blue. Which is exactly this type of shot, so it's harder to judge, but when it goes right it looks really good, and that's why I like it. The cue ball seems to come to an almost complete stop on both cushions, but it's the side spin that keeps it going, and you easily get on the pink if you play it correctly. To play it well, you need to strike the cue ball just below centre with as much side spin as you can get on it, but there's more than that. This is one of those that really needs practice because you need to bounce the cue ball into the table a little bit with a small amount of backspin and a lot of side spin. It's just a case of striking down on the cue ball a tiny bit this time, but it's crucial to make the shot work, and the ideal line takes the cue ball right next to the brown, or possibly the brown spot if it's not there. This one is just a really helpful positional shot. If I want to get on these two reds here, there's no way I can get across the table with just topspin alone. I'll end up somewhere at best, like here. The only way to do it is to play it with right hand side, similar to the blue we just played, although it should be a bit easier because you're not playing it anywhere near as hard. And this particular shot comes up a lot more commonly. It's not the easiest shot to play, but if you learn to play it, it gives you so many more options. And that, I think, is why I like it. Before our next shot, we're just going to find James from Minneapolis in the United States of America. The next one's my favourite way to get in position over a long distance, purely because you have far more control playing it like this than you would any other way. These are two cushion shots, or I suppose you could call them Z positional shots. What usually makes playing positional shots from the bulk colours difficult is getting the pace of the shot right, but here you have a longer distance to stop in. As long as you can avoid anything that might be in the way, like this blue, this is probably the most controlled way to play a positional shot. Most of the time the cue ball goes directly towards the red, and it's this that gives you the greater distance for it to stop in. The other great thing about them is they rarely require any backspin, so there's less that can go wrong. All you need to do is judge the correct amount of side to miss anything that could be in the way and get yourself on the right line. What I really like about these shots is they're often there, you just need to see them. But the next shot really is just a pot I feel comfortable with. This is another shot I quite like. Thin blues into the middle pocket. You don't really need to do anything difficult with these shots. Most of the time it's just an attempt to pot the ball, but it's usually a shot I feel really confident with, even confident in getting in position from an awkward situation. Unfortunately, I don't think there's any trick to these shots besides practice, but when you're really confident with them, it can help you keep a break going for longer than you normally should be able to. That's right, check this out. I really like this type of shot because not a lot of people play it. It makes you feel a lot more confident when you can take on a pot and know you'll avoid all the reds on the way back down the table. Quite often this is done with running sides, spinning the cue ball quite often around the back of the black. However, with this type of shot you can't do that, and if you were to miss it, it could be disastrous. The trick is to play it with check side. Again, this makes it difficult for the same reason that I've been explaining all the way through this video. And by no means is it even an easy shot to get safe, but it is a shot I like to know I can play. Even though these shots are really difficult and occasionally risky, I like them because they allow me to take on pots that normally I wouldn't be able to. If you're enjoying these shots, can you please hit like on this video? Because of the weird inner workings of YouTube at the moment, it's really helping people find this channel for some reason. And if you want to see more shots you can play in a game of snooker, have a look at these two videos. And remember, don't just watch, play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.